Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're taking a look into Pakistan's naval intelligence, kind of a shadowy area.
It really is. We've got a few different sources, Wikipedia, some book chapters on security, even a news clip.
Right. And our goal really is just to pull out the key bits of information for you, try and make sense of this, well, fairly secretive branch of the Pakistan Navy.
Exactly. It's about piecing together that public picture, seeing what we can understand about their basic role.
Okay, so let's start there. What are the fundamentals? What do we, know for sure?
Well, the sources agree on the core facts. It's the administrative and staff service branch of the Navy.
Right.
It's been around since at least 1960, apparently. And its headquarters, Navy GHQ in Islamabad.
So established, central. Got it. What about its main job? What does naval intelligence actually do?
Right. So looking at some analysis, their main tasks seem to fall into a few key areas. First, assessing what other navies are capable of, classic intelligence work.
Strategic stuff. Makes sense.
Exactly. Then there's real-time reporting, what's happening out on the water now, vital for operations, and maybe the biggest part, protecting Pakistan's maritime resources and interests. And of course, countering threats out at sea.
Protecting resources.
Yeah.
So we're talking things like the coastline, shipping lanes in the Arabian Sea.
Precisely. It's a huge economic and strategic zone for them. That's got to be a major focus.
Yeah, you'd think so. But it feels like we don't hear much about them specifically. There's a definite air of secrecy, right?
Oh, absolutely. That comes through clearly. One source explicitly mentions the Pakistani military rarely, if ever, releases official details about what naval intelligence is actually up to.
So inherent intelligence secrecy may be amplified a bit.
Could be. Or maybe it reflects the sensitivity of the region they operate in. Either way, it makes you curious about what isn't public.
Totally. So, okay, secrecy aside, what other little details or nuggets did we find?
Well, we found some identifiers. Their colors are blue and white. Simple enough.
Okay.
And there are mentions of anniversaries stretching back to 1948. That's interesting. It might point to older intelligence functions that got rolled into the current structure later on.
So a potentially longer history than that 1960 date suggests.
Possibly. Or just reflects the overall Navy history.
Yeah.
It definitely shows they're tied into the wider military history of Pakistan, and their people can receive military decorations.
Right. And we actually have some names, leaders.
Yes, a few. The current Director General is listed as Rear Admiral Shahzad Hamid.
Okay.
And past commanders include names like Rear Admiral Javed Iqbal and Rear Admiral Tanvir Ahmed. It helps put a face to the organization, even if it's quite opaque.
It does. What about this mention of a war flag? What does that tell us?
That's significant, I think. A war flag isn't just decoration. It usually symbolizes a unit's combat readiness, its history, its operational status.
So it underscores their role in defense and national security, even if they work in the shadows.
Exactly. It signals they're a serious operational part of the naval structure.
And speaking of operations, there was that tiny mention in a news report, something about a probe.
Yeah, from The Nation back in 2013. Very few details, just that the Pakistan Navy launched some kind of probe.
Vague.
Extremely vague, but, you have to assume naval intelligence would be right in the middle of any kind of investigation or sensitive operation like that.
So it hints at actual field work, not just analysis.
It certainly suggests that. It's a tiny crack showing perhaps a more active operational side that we just don't normally get to see.
Okay, so let's try and wrap this up. If you had to give our listeners the main takeaways here.
I'd say Pakistan's naval intelligence is clearly a vital part of their navy. It's long established, but also operates under a significant layer of intentional secrecy.
Right.
Its core job is classic naval intelligence, assessing threats, gathering intel, protecting maritime interests. But the details of how they do that are kept very close.
So professional, embedded, but deliberately low profile.
That sums it up pretty well.
Which brings us to a final thought for you listening. Given how little is public, what do you think are the biggest challenges for an agency like this, operating in such a complex area like the Arabian Sea? What kind of unseen work might they really be doing day to day to protect Pakistan's interests against, modern threats and new technologies? Something to think about. Thanks for joining us on The Deep Dive.